If you think your home is built to last, just wait till you've seen the construction kings of the natural world. We're counting down the top 10 most extreme animal architects. Man, when home improvement is taken to the most extreme.
Earth is a planet of extremes. Extreme places. And extreme animals. But some animals are more extreme than others. Join us as we count down to find the most unusual and the most extraordinary on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme. Number 10.
Once upon a time, we called a cave our home. But as our ambition and ingenuity grew, we created bigger and better structures until now the sky's the limit. With enough time and money, we can create strange homes out of almost anything. But nobody will ever build a house like our first contender. As the sun goes down on the reef, it's time for the parrotfish to create a new home. It's number 10 in the countdown because it builds a house out of snot. This designer sleeping bag is made from mucus secreted from glands in its skin. It sounds disgusting, but this slimy sac seals in the parrotfish's smell. This is really important when there are hunters that can sniff out the scent of unprotected sleeping fish. Having survived the dangers of the night, parrotfish are free to feed on the polyps that create stony coral. And when you chew on rock, you poo out sand. Lots of sand. Each year, just one parrotfish can produce a ton of coral sand. Getting your hands dirty in a pile of parrotfish droppings is the dream of many young home designers. And it's not all child's play. Some designers take sandcastles to the extreme. This incredible design in Zeebrugge, Belgium, is one of the biggest sand sculptures in Europe. Hundreds of hours are spent watering and compacting the sand so it can be carved into incredible shapes. The parrotfish doesn't put such effort into building its temporary accommodation. After all, just how hard is it to make a large sack out of a giant booger? And that's why the parrotfish is only number 10 in our countdown of home designers.
Number 9.
Our next contender takes home improvements to the extreme. It's an obsessive-compulsive that never stops fiddling with the decorations, adding a piece here, changing something over there. No wonder it's called the decorator crab. It's number 9 in the countdown because no other animal takes such care of its mobile home. It comes equipped with a tool belt of handy pincers for trimming pieces of plant life and then fastening them onto the tiny hairs on its legs and back. Just like Velcro, the chewed ends of the seaweed stick on to the hook-like body hairs. But what makes the crab really extreme is that whenever it goes for a walk, it completely renovates its house. While most crabs prefer to keep well away from predators, the decorator crab lives out in the open. This master of camouflage quickly blends into its new environment simply by collecting odds and ends left lying around the seafloor. One woman also turned a collection of odds and ends into an incredible home. This is Grandma Prisby of Simi Valley, California. By 1956, she'd managed to collect over 17,000 pencils, and at the age of 61, decided it was time to design a house to store them all. The first thing to do was find building materials. So, just like a decorator crab, she started collecting odds and ends that had been left lying around. Her favorite building materials were bottles, and after 25 years of serious collecting, Grandma Prisby had designed something astonishing. This isn't a house, but a village. Grandma Prisby's bottle village consisted of 13 buildings and 22 sculptures, including wishing wells, shrines, and walkways. She claimed to have incorporated more than 1 million bottles in her designs. At the heart of the complex was the building that started it all, a home for her collection of pencils. Grandma Prisby died in 1988, but much of her extraordinary creation still survives today. The designs of the decorator crab are far more temporary. It's only number 9 in the countdown because whenever it gets hungry, it can remove a piece from its back and eat it.
So far, we've seen animals use their home as a meal and snot as a seal. But still to come are baby beetles that live in a house of the dead. And later, what little doggy is home on the range? Find out next on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme.
Beetle. It's looking for a house that would make Hansel and Gretel sick. A dead mouse is prime real estate. And if it's crawling with mites and covered in fly eggs, so much the better. It'll be a babe magnet, attracting any female in the vicinity. Once a pair of beetles have mated, they'll start work on designing the nursery. The first task is to cover the carcass in saliva and feces to slow down the rotting process. Then, they have to move something 200 times their own weight. By lying on their backs, they can balance the body above them, walking the load along as if on a conveyor belt. It's easy to see how burying beetles got their name. An hour later, the corpse is in the crypt. The burying beetle is number 8 in the countdown because it can turn a rotting body into a nursery for its babies. Thanks to a liberal coating of spit and anal secretions, the proud parents have a home that's good enough to eat. A little regurgitated mouse carcass goes a long way for a baby burying beetle. But burying beetles are not the only builders that can make a home out of unusual materials. In fact, some designers are so enthusiastic about trash that they dive into their work head first. Dumpster diving may not be everyone's idea of fun, but it can uncover enough material to furnish any home, according to John Starnes of Tampa, Florida. John calls his hobby pre-cycling. For 30 years, he's been turning other people's garbage into a house that's a work of art.
Well, if anybody thought I was living in a pile of trash, I think it's a beautiful pile of trash. I mean, just look around. It's colorful, it's symmetrical, it's interesting. You just don't bring home any old thing from the trash and call it home decor. As it took 3 years for this couch to evolve into this look by selectively scavenging things. The space coffee table, that's evolved over 2 years. So just by being selective in what you bring home and what you do with it, you can avoid a trashy look.
While John Starnes might have a talent for turning trash into art, it's difficult to compete with a burying beetle that can turn a dead body into a nursery. For most people, the tasteful designs of this animal architect are best left hidden underground.
Our last two contenders have built up an impressive reputation. But still to come is a creative creature that designs a death trap. And what animal builds a house that's nothing to spit at? Find out next. Number 7.
Our countdown of extreme home designers continues with an animal that makes human engineers jealous. After all, we think we're pretty clever when we make a spaghetti-sized strand of steel wire that can support over half a ton. Bind these wires together into a thick cable, and you'd think you'd have a design that could withstand anything nature could throw at it. Back in 1940, that's what engineers thought when they spent 2 years building a suspension bridge across the Tacoma Narrows in Washington State. They thought they'd built the epitome of lightness, grace, and flexibility. It was certainly flexible. The engineers had designed a bridge that acted like an aircraft wing in high winds. And just 4 months after opening, the bridge took off. Even today, we still can't match the design of the animal that's suspended at number 7 in the countdown. The spider builds a web of silk across busy airspace so it can filter food from the sky. Imagine how different our constructions would be if we could use a material that could hold 4,000 times its own weight and be anchored with nothing but glue. Spider silk is just that. A truly miraculous building material. Just think what you could do if you could secrete a strand of spider silk. Weight for weight, spider silk is 5 times stronger than steel. Even more remarkable, spider silk is twice as elastic as nylon. Using this remarkable building material, spiders design webs that can be more than 6 feet in diameter and are strong enough to catch small birds. The spider web is an extraordinary construction, but our next contender chooses to build not with silk, but spit.
Number 6.
In Southeast Asia, some of the safest properties on the market are found inside caves. They're warm, dry, and far from hungry mouths. There's only one problem. On the smooth rock walls, there's nothing to hang a house onto, unless you're a cave swiftlet. These birds are number 6 in the countdown because they found a way to construct a home on the roof of a cave using a most unusual building material. The cave swiftlet builds its nest out of spit. Their saliva is sticky and sets like glue to the rock wall. They use their beak to weave their sticky slobber into a solid cup. Even with 2 parents dribbling full time, it can take more than a month to complete the nest. Some humans also build their homes out of fluid, except it's not sticky, but frozen. Igloos, constructed from blocks of hard-packed snow, have been part of Arctic life for hundreds of years. But to find the ultimate igloo, why not book a room at the Ice Hotel? Every year on the River Torne in Sweden, the hotel is made of more than 10,000 tons of ice and 30,000 tons of snow. Clear river ice is carved to make everything from the windows to the bar. The hotel can sleep 100 guests, and they'll be delighted that their beds are not made out of frozen saliva. But some people in Southeast Asia will go to extraordinary lengths to get into a swiftlet sticky bed, even if it means balancing on flimsy bamboo ladders 500 feet above the cave floor. Collecting nests is a lucrative business. That's because when you boil up cave swiftlet spit, you have the main ingredient of bird's nest soup. This gives a whole new meaning to Home Sweet Home.
While some designers are real sticky beaks, and others are wonderful weavers, coming up are 10,000 builders that make a real splash. And discover which bird knits a nest that would make even a spider jealous. That's next on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme. Number 5.
The next contender in our countdown of home designers lives in a fortress, and its defenders are quick to take offense. Making a splash at number 5 in the countdown is the wasp. A single queen stronghold starts as a papery honeycomb-like structure. Inside this tiny sphere, she raises the first generation of workers that will go on to help her build the underground fortress. These workers chew up wood fiber and glue it together with saliva to make a kind of paper mache. The colony grows downwards as more comb is added beneath the existing layers. From its humble beginnings, most nests grow to the size of a football and contain more than 10,000 individuals. Usually, nests die off over winter, but in some warm climates, the colony continues to develop over a number of seasons until you can have a giant fortress protected by hundreds of thousands of stinging defenders. It's an incredibly intricate piece of design, using a substance that we take for granted. Yet, millions of years before we even discovered how to make paper, wasps were using it as a building material. Some wasps even incorporate bits of sand into their paper for strength and hardness. Humans have also made strong fortresses, not of sand, but rock. In the days before gunpowder, castles were truly imposing fortresses. With stone walls up to 20 feet thick and 40 feet high, they could withstand almost anything thrown at them. Anything except an earthquake. Wasp nests made of paper can withstand even the most severe shaking. Human buildings are much less flexible. Don't panic. This restaurant is meant to rock and roll. At the Disaster Cafe in Spain, diners pay to sit through a magnitude 8 earthquake every 30 minutes or so. Thanks to its extreme design, in this restaurant, you can guarantee that the martinis are shaken, not stirred. The wasp nest may have no trouble surviving an earthquake, but there are other dangers associated with living in a house made of paper. Some uninvited guests can find it irresistible. However, our next contender has even bigger problems.
Number 4.
A good builder knows that some construction materials are better than others. Straw doesn't get used very often these days. People don't think it will keep out the weather or the wolf. So perhaps the little pig should have talked to these little birds. Nothing is better than a weaver bird at building with straw. The male is the principal builder, gathering strips of leaves, vines, and tall grasses. Then he knots the strips to a branch using only his beak and feet. And if at first you don't succeed, it's a matter of try, and try again. Each bird will use over 1,000 strips of grass, and it will take up to a week to complete the nest. Then, he tries to attract a female to his love shack. She selects her dream weaver by the quality of his design. If he doesn't secure a female quickly, his nest will go brown, and that's a real turnoff. He'll have to unpick his work and start all over again. The weaver bird is number 4 in the countdown because the finished nest is a remarkable piece of engineering. The high tensile strength of the woven strands disperse stresses and strains. With no areas of weakness, it's incredibly strong for its weight. But this isn't the only time a female has provided the inspiration to design one of the world's most amazing structures. Back in 1612, the Empress Mumtaz Mahal was married to the Emperor Shah Jahan, who ruled in the country now known as India. When she died giving birth to their 14th child, the emperor was overpowered by grief. He became determined to honor her memory forever and decided to build his beloved wife the most magnificent mausoleum of all time, a monument of eternal love. An army of 20,000 stonemasons, gem cutters, marble fitters, and laborers toiled 22 years to build it. Legend has it that the artisans that built the dome and its 4 tapering minarets had their hands cut off afterwards, so that they would not be able to build anything to rival its beauty. The emperor's dream came true, because today there is no tomb to rival the majesty of the Taj Mahal. This is the weaver bird's version of a monumental building. It's the most extreme nest on the planet. It's designed by a flock of social weaver birds that live on the plains of Africa. Weighing more than a ton, this monument to avian artistry can house more than 400 birds. And the best part is nobody loses a beak when it's finished.
If you thought houses of straw and fortresses of paper were impressive, coming up is a builder that designs luxury accommodations underground. And what furry chainsaw makes a mighty mess of the neighborhood? Find out next on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme. Number 3.
You can find the next contender in our countdown of extreme animal architects living in cities that sprawl across the American prairie. One city was said to have 400 million inhabitants and spread across an area 20 times bigger than Los Angeles. It's just that this city was underground. Popping in to number 3 in the countdown is the prairie dog. This fat little rodent builds the best little house on the prairie, but it can be 10 feet below the surface. The only signs above ground of their tunneling activity are the mounds of dirt at the entrances to burrows. The prairie dog puts a lot of effort into maintaining these mounds. Not only do they make useful lookout posts, but in these flat grasslands, flooding can be a real problem, unless you build a protective dike of dirt. And as protection against hungry predators, prairie dogs always dig several escape tunnels. Construction is a real family affair. One male can have up to 4 females helping him build the burrow and collecting grass to line the chambers below. This pudgy little digger takes tunneling to the extreme. Journey down into a prairie dog burrow, and you'll discover a labyrinth of tunnels up to 15 feet long. They build nurseries, bedrooms, a pantry, a toilet, and emergency exits. But the most impressive part of their tunnel construction is the way prairie dogs invented their very own air conditioning system. The mounds at the openings of prairie dog burrows are built at different heights. Because higher places are windier, atmospheric pressure is reduced at the mouth of the top entrance. This effectively sucks air out of the tunnel. Meanwhile, at the lower mound, the relatively higher pressure forces fresh air down into the burrow. It's a system that would come in handy in the baking heat of the Australian desert. Because here, just like a prairie dog town, people have gone down under. Welcome to Coober Pedy, population 3,500, and about 70% of the town live underground. The reason is simple. Up on the surface of the desert, air conditioners struggle to cope with temperatures that can hit more than 120 degrees. But underground, houses remain a comfortable 77 degrees all year, free of charge. Some underground homes are mansions, complete with swimming pools. Surprisingly, the cost can be 30% less than conventional housing, because massive boring machines can dig a 4-bedroom abode in a single day. But the best part of designing a house in this part of the desert is that sometimes it can pay for itself. Coober Pedy is the opal capital of the world. Many of the homes were once former opal mines, and often people can find enough of the precious stones during the construction process to pay for the whole house. Who knows what precious stones prairie dogs would find as they tunnel across the prairie? But their major earthworks are nothing compared to the designs of the rodent that's coming up next in the countdown.
Number 2.
Our next contender is the most influential ecosystem engineer in North America. No other animal has a greater impact on the landscape than nature's very own furry chainsaws. No tree is safe from the beaver's chisel-like teeth, and the sound of running water is enough to make the beaver move damn fast. Beavers make their home using only teeth, tail, and paws. Their dam can transform a valley by creating their own private lake. This is a moat to keep their lodge safe from predators. During the course of a year, a pair of beavers may cut down as many as 400 trees and flood an area covering several acres. And that's why the beaver is number 2 in the countdown. their simple homes can become truly enormous. How would you like to build a dam that's 14 feet high, 23 feet thick at the base, and strong enough to support a family car? The biggest beaver dam was more than 2,000 feet long. That's big enough to stretch beneath the Brooklyn Bridge. And remember, beavers use nothing more than their teeth, paws, and bottom to build it. No wonder people say they're busy as a beaver. Few human designers would choose to build their house in a swamp, but there is one man who wanted to create a castle. In 1972, sculptor Howard Solomon was looking for a quiet place to work. He found it in a Central Florida swamp. But when he discovered that the land he'd bought didn't have enough high ground to build horizontal, he decided to build vertical instead. Solomon's castle now stands 3 stories high, and every exterior surface is covered with discarded aluminum printing plates from the local newspaper. The castle serves as an exhibition gallery for several hundred pieces of Solomon sculpture. The king of this extraordinary castle is Howard Solomon.
I designed the castle according to the availability of materials. When I first came here, I saw an ad in the paper for printing plates. They said you can repair your chicken house with these plates. And the price was so reasonable, I thought, why not make a tin castle? Because tin castles are for temporary kings. You have to reign before it rusts.
Howard Solomon may be the king of a tin castle, but not even he has a gold throne, unlike Lam Sai Wing from Hong Kong. The world's most expensive washroom is made out of 700 pounds of 24-karat gold. Embedded in the ceiling are more than 6,000 precious stones. It's located in Lam Sai Wing's jewelry shop, and although 10,000 people visit it every day, only those who have spent more than $200 get to use the solid gold facilities for free. Beavers may get fewer tourists visiting their lodge in the middle of the lake, but then that's kind of the point of their magnificent design. There's only one animal architect that's come up with a more extreme home, and it's not made out of gold, but droppings.
We've seen the 9 contenders. They're the best of the best. Only one designer has a home that is more extreme. It's number 1, and it's coming up next on Animal Planet's The Most. Number 1.
Towering above the plains of Africa, this skyscraper belongs to some truly extreme home designers. It's just that they're all busy down in the basement. Digging their way into number 1 in the countdown are termites. These tiny insects construct their massive castles using nothing more than their mouths to mix together saliva, dirt, and dung. It may be messy, but this plaster sets like concrete and can be molded into extraordinary design features like air conditioning systems, a water well, covered walkways, stairs, and underground gardens. The only thing they don't build are windows, because these incredible home designers are completely blind. A termite mound can be taller than a giraffe, weigh more than 60 tons, and house more than 5 million insects. Some of these extreme homes can survive for more than 100 years. But one human construction has been around for much longer than that. About 5,000 years ago, on the Salisbury Plains in England, people started to work on Stonehenge, an ancient monument created out of massive slabs of granite. No one knows exactly what inspired the first Neolithic home designers to maneuver 25-ton slabs of granite around a field. But we do know that the whole monument is symmetrically arranged around a central axis. A processional avenue points directly to the spot on the horizon where the sun first appears on the 21st of June. This is the summer solstice, and every year at this time, the sun rises exactly on top of a stone in the center of the avenue. It's an extreme piece of design for people using Stone Age technology. But an animal with the brain the size of a pinhead has been doing the same thing for millions of years on the other side of the world. These are magnetic termite mounds, and every single mound is precisely aligned to face north. Magnetic termites are number 1 in the countdown because it's been recently discovered that termites can sense the Earth's magnetic field. Without this information, they would surely die in the extreme heat of Australia's Northern Territory. The sun is the reason why the magnetic termite has to design such a strange home. It's very wide and very, very thin. The termites migrate within the nest because there can be a 40-degree temperature difference between the side in the shadow and the side in the sun. And at midday, because only the thin upper edge of the mound faces the sun, the amount of heat absorbed by the nest is minimized. It's a truly extreme piece of design, especially when you consider that the builders are blind and have created a perfectly oriented air-conditioned mansion out of nothing but dirt and droppings. That's why, when it comes to animal architecture, the termite really is the most extreme.
Coming up.